Jacob Fatu injured, SmackDown match cancelled. Jacob Fatu is injured, and the biggest match on SmackDown just got cancelled in the worst possible way. Not with an announcement. Not with a press release. But with Fatu's music hitting, nobody walking out, and cameras cutting backstage to show the Samoan Werewolf bloodied and battered, unable to compete in what was supposed to be his #1 contenders match against Drew McIntyre. And just like that, one of the most anticipated matches on SmackDown disappeared, replaced by an impromptu Undisputed WWE Championship match that nobody saw coming. Welcome back to the Wrestling Hidden Insight, and today we're breaking down what happened on SmackDown in San Jose, what we know about Jacob Fatu's injury, how WWE handled this situation on the fly, and what this means for the future of SmackDown's main event scene now that one of its most dominant forces is going to be out of action until 2026. Let's start at the beginning of the show because WWE had big plans for this Friday night. SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis came out to address the San Jose crowd and announced that the grudge match between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu was being elevated to a #1 contenders match. Winner gets a shot at Cody Rhodes and the Undisputed WWE Championship. That's not just any match. That's a career-defining opportunity. That's the kind of match that can change someone's trajectory overnight. And for Jacob Fatu, this was supposed to be his moment to prove he belongs in the main event picture, to show that he's not just muscle for the bloodline but a legitimate championship-caliber wrestler in his own right. The backstory to this match is compelling and has been building nicely over the past couple of weeks. Last week on SmackDown, Jacob Fatu made it crystal clear that he wants to be next in line for Cody Rhodes and the Undisputed Championship. He cut a promo making his intentions known, positioning himself as a future champion, showing the kind of confidence and ambition that makes stars. But before he could finish basking in his own hype, Drew McIntyre showed up and absolutely battered him. Drew laid Fatu out, making a statement of his own, reminding everyone that he's still one of the most dangerous men in WWE and he's not done chasing championships. Drew McIntyre has been on a warpath since WrestlePalooza where he failed to regain the Undisputed WWE Championship. And instead of taking accountability for that loss, instead of looking in the mirror and figuring out what went wrong, Drew has been blaming everyone else. He's blamed the referees. He's blamed other wrestlers. He's blamed circumstances. He's blamed everything except his own performance. And Jacob Fatu called him out on that. Fatu basically told Drew to stop whining, stop making excuses, and start taking responsibility for his own failures. That's what sparked this rivalry. That's what led to last week's attack. And that's what was supposed to culminate in tonight's #1 contenders match. The match had everything you'd want. Two powerhouse wrestlers with different styles. Drew's technical brawling versus Fatu's explosive Samoan wrestling. A clear storyline with both men having legitimate reasons to want this opportunity. High stakes with a title shot on the line. Chemistry from their previous interactions. This was set up to be one of the best matches SmackDown has delivered all year. And everyone was excited to see it. Fans were buzzing. Social media was hyped. This felt like the kind of match that could steal the show and elevate both participants regardless of who won. And then the main event segment arrived. Jacob Fatu's music hit. The crowd popped because they knew this was it, this was the match they'd been waiting for. But nobody came out. The entrance stayed empty. Fatu's music kept playing, but there was no Samoan Werewolf walking down the ramp ready to fight. And then the cameras cut backstage and we saw why. Jacob Fatu was laid out. Bloodied around the mouth. Clearly unable to compete. Someone had attacked him before he could make it to the ring, and that someone's identity wasn't revealed in the segment, leaving it as a mystery that will presumably be solved in the coming weeks. Now, initially, everyone watching thought this was a work. Because this is WWE. Wrestlers get attacked backstage all the time. It's a standard wrestling trope to have someone taken out before a big match and then either they fight through the injury and compete anyway, or a replacement is announced, or the match gets rescheduled. It's wrestling storytelling 101. But as the night went on and more information came out, it became clear that this wasn't entirely a work. Jacob Fatu is legitimately injured, and WWE had to pivot on the fly to deal with a situation they didn't plan for. According to reports from Bodyslam.net, Jacob Fatu sustained an injury through non-wrestling means that will keep him out of action until 2026. Let me repeat that. Until 2026. We're talking months. We're potentially talking about Fatu missing the rest of this year and not returning until next year. That's not a minor injury. That's not something you take a couple weeks off for and come back good as new. This is significant. And the fact that it was sustained through non-wrestling means suggests it happened outside of the ring, possibly in training, possibly in some other circumstance that WWE hasn't detailed yet and probably won't because they tend to keep injury specifics private unless absolutely necessary. The term non-wrestling means is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that report because it could mean anything. It could be a training accident. It could be something that happened in his personal life. It could be a freak incident that nobody saw coming. We don't know the specifics, and WWE hasn't issued an official statement yet providing details. But what we do know is that Fatu is hurt badly enough that he can't compete for several months, and that forced WWE to completely change their plans for SmackDown on the fly. And this is where we have to give WWE credit because they handled this situation about as well as they could have under the circumstances. They didn't just cancel the match and send everyone home disappointed. They didn't do some weak angle where Fatu forfeits and Drew wins by default. Instead, they turned a negative into a potential positive by creating an impromptu Undisputed WWE Championship match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. That's thinking on your feet. That's taking a bad situation and salvaging it by giving the audience something they didn't expect but will absolutely watch. Cody Rhodes vs. Drew McIntyre for the Undisputed Championship is not a throwaway match. These two have history. They've had incredible matches before. They're both top-tier talents who can deliver on short notice. And making it an impromptu title match gives it an unpredictable energy that planned matches sometimes lack. Fans don't know if this is going to be a quick match where Cody retains easily, or if this is going to be a legitimate 20-minute war where Drew actually has a chance to win the title. That uncertainty creates drama. That uncertainty keeps people watching. And that's exactly what WWE needed in a moment where their original main event just fell apart.